Hi everyone, I'm the Tax Pro and welcome to our 90 Days to Taxes series. Today we're going to go over Form 1125A. So this is our cost of goods sold form. And this form gets connected to your 1120, your 1120S, your 1065. So those are our C Corporation, S Corporation, and partnership tax returns. And this is how we determine or how we report our cost of goods sold. So this gets attached to those forms as a addition, essentially. And you'll notice that it says it's 3 pages long, but these are all directions, okay? So really what we're filling out is just this top little part right here. Now you're gonna put the business name right here and the EIN. If you're filing in a software, it's gonna include that for you, right? So then we're gonna go through and we're gonna look at the beginning of the year inventory. So what amount of inventory did you go into at the beginning of the year? As a hint, this is going to be your inventory at the end of the year from the year prior. So if this is our 2025 cost of goods sold form, if we go to our 2024 Form 1125A, line 7 should match line 1 of your 2025 Form 1125A. So it builds on itself, right? And if it doesn't match, then you want to make sure that no changes have occurred because you definitely don't want to miss any of those expenses, right? So if you guys went back and reported additional cost of goods sold after you filed your tax return, 1, you probably overpaid in taxes the prior year, and 2, your form's going to be, incorrect. You're going to be missing some of that cost of goods sold. That's a problem. So you're going to look at the inventory at the beginning of the year, and then you're going to total your purchases. Okay, so in accounting, we have a formula that says the inventory at the beginning of the year plus your purchases minus your inventory at the end of the year. Well, that has to equal your cost of goods sold, and that's what's happening here. Okay. It can be a little bit difficult to determine what your purchases are for the year. What you would want to do is you would want to pull a report from your bookkeeping software that tallies the amount of purchases that you made. Okay, depending on your bookkeeping software is going to depend on what report you want to pull. So you're going to do your inventory at the beginning of the year from your balance sheet. It should tie to the prior year. Add your purchases, which you'll pull from your bookkeeping system. And then you want to add your cost of labor. Now, this is the cost of labor for producing the cost of goods sold, the items that you're selling. Okay, so this isn't your overall cost of labor for the whole entire business. This is your cost of labor specifically for your cost of goods sold. The cost of labor that you put on this Form 1125A, it does not go on page 1 of your tax return in the salaries and wages section, okay, because that would be double dipping. So if you include it on your cost of goods sold, you don't include it again in the payroll numbers on page 1, right? It'll be reported from the amount of cost of goods sold. You don't want to double dip. You'll be able to catch if you double dip when you, reconcile your profit and loss on the tax return to your books. Okay, so additional section 263A costs. I'm going to skip over this. It's not going to apply to a lot of you. And then other costs. So this is where you go in and you kind of list those other costs. There could potentially be other costs that some of you guys may have. For example, maybe you're not purchasing parts specifically. You've added those on purchases, but you may also be purchasing like some supplies that you use up in the course of manufacturing the product, but you don't necessarily consider them parts, right? So maybe we have like a specific type of glue and we just buy the glue in bulk, and as we're manufacturing these parts, we're utilizing this glue, and that glue gets used up in the process. That would potentially be something that you put on your other costs section if you're not including it in your purchases. Okay, so there could potentially be some direct materials involved that you would add in this other cost. You essentially list it out on a schedule and you attach the schedule to form, whatever form you're filing, the 1120 or 1120S, 1065. And then you make a note right here that says, see schedule number 1 or something along those lines. You're then going to total lines 1 through 5. So right here it says total lines 1 through 5 to get to line 6. And then you're going to look at your inventory at the end of the year, put that on line 7. You'll be able to get this from your balance sheet. And then you are going to subtract line 7 from line 6. That's going to get you your cost of goods sold. Okay? So it's a pretty simple formula. It's really important that your balance sheet, the inventory amounts are accurate. So make sure you do an inventory count at the end of the year. It's really important to make sure that these amounts are accurate. Then we are going to go in with question 9, and there's some different questions about inventory methods. So it's going to ask you, what was the method used for valuing closing inventory? And this is going to be based on what you're using in your bookkeeping system, okay? They also allow you to potentially use alternative methods. I don't necessarily recommend some of these. Cost is generally what a lot of you guys are going to use. You're just going to use the cost of, whatever it cost you for that inventory. Check if there was a write-down of subnormal goods. So did you pay money for a product and then on your books you said, okay, well, we paid $3,000 for this particular batch of items, but we are going to, write that down to $2,000 because they just aren't worth $3,000. This would be abnormal for you guys. Check if the LIFO inventory was adopted this year for any goods. LIFO is last in, first out. So we have a couple of different methods. We have FIFO, which is first in, first out. So for example, if I have, this item for purchasing a specific product, like part for my manufacturing. And I have this batch that I've purchased, and this batch cost me 70 cents a piece. And then I went ahead and I purchased another batch, and later, and this batch cost me 80 cents a piece. In first in, first out, I will use up the 70 cents per item when I'm looking at costing, expensing my inventory to cost of goods sold. In the last in, first out, I would use the 80 cents first because it was the last item that I brought in for that particular product. And then I will expense it first, okay? And then there's also an averaging method. So there's some different inventory methods. This is just essentially asking you, what's going on with your inventory? How are you doing it? E is going to ask about 263A, and then F is going to ask if there was any change in determining the quantities, cost, or valuations between opening and closing inventory. So essentially the IRS wants to know, did you change the way that you calculate your inventory during the year? Did you have a change of accounting method? Because you have to pick one and stick to it. The IRS doesn't let you hop around year after year and just be like, oh, well, this year, I'm going to pay less taxes if I use this method. Whereas, in the next year, I might switch around again. The year after that, I might switch again. IRS doesn't let you do that. You have to pick one and stick to it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't ever change your method. You certainly can, but it requires disclosing that to the IRS. So this is the cost of goods sold form. Essentially what you're doing is calculating cost of goods sold, and then you're going to attach this to your tax return. This will flow through onto page 1 of that tax return. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope it was helpful, and I will see you guys next time.